Happy Sunday. Beautiful day here in the neighborhood. Summer is here. Feel it. I got some emails afterwards for my Ashkenazi brothers and sisters saying that they also love the warm weather. I hear you. I hear you. Of course, my Sephardi side would say there's a Sephardi in everybody. There's something about warm weather people. But everybody's awesome. It's great to be here Sunday morning. Thanks so much for tuning in. For those of you who are live, God bless you. For those that are watching on demand, thank you for doing that. We've been talking last week a lot about this concept of getting more articulate with our thoughts. Our minds can be very, very confusing. Our minds could send us in different places, mostly when we're not clear with our thinking. For those who were on the Friday show, I know Liron was there. Thank you. For those that were there on Friday afternoon, you know that we do a show at 5:30 on Fridays. It's called the Shabbat Show. And we had just done the part of Shabbat called Havdalah. It's the time at the end of Shabbat where we make a blessing on the ability to distinguish. And we have a list between good and bad, between holy and not holy, between day and night. We list these things out because one of the things that a day like a Shabbat, which, by the way, is a lot of what we've been talking about here. Shabbat's much holier than what just a regular day of thinking, but a lot of what we've been saying here on the show is this idea that there's a time for action and a time for thought. And when you spend enough time in thought, when you give thinking its proper due, when life isn't I wake up and I'm doing, and I go to bed and I'm doing. And I have the same thing, by the way, all the time. So many times I go to bed at night and I'm like, what else can I do before bed? What else can what emails can I return? What can I see? What can I watch? What can I read? What can I do so that when I fall asleep, I've got nothing left? And that seems, at least to me, as better than not, but we're missing the time to think. We're missing something. It's actually not on Momentum. It's on Project Inspire. It's on my Facebook at 5:30 every Friday. We're missing the time to think. And what thinking does is thinking actually creates articulation of thought. And articulation of thought enables us to change our thinking, enables us to adapt our thinking, because most growth isn't black or white. Most growth is gray. But in order to find gray, you have to know which is black and which is white, right? Gray is just black and white mixed together. In order to grow for real in life, growth isn't like I'm a 0 and then I'm 100. That's not sustainable. Growth isn't that I can't do it, now I can. I get inspired, so I'm going cold turkey. For some people that maybe they can do that, but for most people, you can't do anything cold turkey. Growth is about how to slowly adapt your mind, step by step, how to go +1, as we spoke about earlier, to consistently be going +1, to know where you want to go into the future, but to push yourself a little bit more consistently, so that over the course of time, without having to go through any level of sustained pain at a point where you can't handle it, you're growing. So that proverbial marathon runner, he or she cannot sustain walking and breathing heavy because they can't get through a walk and then running 26 miles. It won't work. Maybe one time, if there was some level of fear or huge reward. If it were anything, maybe. But consistently, there's no way. That's why we're constantly failing. Because we're going from 0 to 100 in our thoughts. The marathon's into the distance. The ideal day is into the distance. The way you grow is when you're consistently achieving a certain level of ability, and then you're pushing it. When you're getting to that 1 mile, and then you keep hitting it. And as soon as you feel like you can do a mile, the what you do when you get to that mile is you push to 1.2. Now, if you don't have a goal to get to, you won't push. But if you're not going to hold by the mile, you're never going to get there. So you're going plus one, plus one, plus one, plus one. So when it comes to running, that's pretty simple. I'm at 0. I got to get 26.2. Okay. What about when it comes to our lives? What about marriage? What about parenting? What about my work? What about my spirituality? What about my friendships? What about my traits? What about humility? What about ambition? What about the things that make my life? Where's the 26.2? Where's the goal? How do I know where I am? What mile am I up to? How do we know? Am I a good husband? Am I a decent husband? Am I an amazing husband? Is my spouse reacting to me in a way that I don't want because of what he or she is doing or because of what I'm doing? Are my children treating me the way they're treating me because of what I'm doing, because of what they're doing, because of what I'm doing? Is my boss, is the world not giving me things because they're not delivering for me? Do I not feel connected to the divine because of the situation of how it's not working religion, or because maybe I haven't connected? Where does it go? If I'm not articulate in my thinking, if I'm not looking at the world and reacting in the right way, if I'm not analyzing, even for 5 minutes a day, how do I know? And what time and what designated time to think does for us, which is what the weekends really are all about. Well, at the surface level, what it does for us is it's supposed to allow us to analyze, to grow. That was this idea that we spoke about on Friday. The Havdalah service is a blessing that we make in the ability to create distinctions. And we spoke about this here. Wisdom is found on distinctions. The two people are looking out to the sky, and one person goes, cool, clouds. And one person goes, wow, there are these types of clouds, and the cumulonimbus clouds, and there are these clouds. And that person can understand from just where the clouds are, everything about the second person is wiser in that area because he can make a distinction in an area that the first person can't. Distinctions come from time to think. Distinctions come from articulation of that which was unarticulatable, if that's a word that we just created because we have our own vocabulary here on the show. Because it was all just sort of lost in some general thoughts that is just hanging around my head. And that comes when we spend time not only thinking, I believe, but when we spend time writing. And we spoke last week about this idea of journaling. How important it is that we write down our thinking. You don't have to have the best penmanship. You don't have to write, nice prose. You don't have to be a writer. You have to take the time to write down our thoughts, to write down our judgments. This is a piece of advice I got early on in life, that when I do it, it's helpful. When I forget, it's not. When you're about to make a judgment call, you ever get stuck between two decisions and you don't know what to do, write down the decision you're going to make and why. And what will happen is many times once the decision is made and it's over and you see if it was a good or bad decision, you get to come back to it and understand what was wrong with your thinking so that you can adapt your thinking the next time. Versus like bad decision happens, all right, it didn't work out, you're upset you made the wrong call, and then you just continue on and you can making the circumstances may change, but the decision making ability may be exactly the same. By taking the time to journal, by writing, by articulating, what we're doing is we're building out our thoughts to be like codes that we can fix, right? When there is a broken code somewhere, you can fix it. That's how when Apple sends you their iPhone, and then they find that all of a sudden later, every couple of days, you have updates on your phone. What is that? Well, they send it out to the world, and everybody responds back with the problems. And they didn't realize that when you put the camera on and the flashlight on and you got the thing on, then the whole thing crashes. They don't realize that when you upload something, and if you're uploading it, it loses. They don't know. Can they come up with every single scenario? Is it possible in the bajillion ways in which we use our phones that Apple can think of everything? Of course they can't. So what they do is they put it out there. It's called MVPRI. MVPRI is one of the greatest ways in which companies grow today. It's one of the greatest ways in which we need to grow today. That stands for Minimum Viable Product, Rapid Iteration. You put out to the world the best you have. Stop waiting for it to be perfect. Nothing's ever going to be perfect. Minimally viable. Whatever is viable. But you have to iterate rapidly. Always growing, always changing, always growing, always changing. Listening for feedback. It's an amazing thing, right? Think about what Apple has done to us. They send us a phone. People line up on the streets. They can't even afford it. It doesn't matter. They line up on the streets. They buy a phone knowing that in a year from now, they'll need a new one. Can you imagine? I'm selling you a product that you know will be you know that you're not going to ever touch in 3 years. But you'll buy it anyways, just for the next year, for the next 2 years. And then not only that, but you know they've got stuff in it. It's called bugs. There's stuff that doesn't work. And so what happens is they sell it to you, and they're constantly getting the feedback from how people are using it. They're hearing about it. They're seeing it. And what's happening is as they're getting the feedback, they're creating new code to adapt to the problems. They're fixing this. They're adding this. And they're sending you on your phone software updates so that you can literally fix your phone. And it gets 1% better every month or two. So by the time in the use of your phone, they get smarter and the phone gets better. If you notice, always just fixing bugs. And if you notice what they're fixing, if it goes through, they'll scroll through, they'll tell you what they're fixing. What they're fixing are like little nuances. It's like the craziest. And like, how did you know that when this open and this is open, it doesn't really connect to each other? The answer is somebody probably complained, or they're watching it. There's a great story with Elon Musk and his company Tesla, where one of his, the whole Tesla's a computer. Where one of his cars, one of the people driving his cars, broke down on a highway in a desert. And immediately, as he was breaking down, they were getting all these alerts back at headquarters because their computers were tied into the main computer. And there's a great story about Tesla where as the car was malfunctioning and it finally broke down, by the time he had called in to wherever he had to call to tell somebody that this is happening for customer service, they were already working on a fix, and they sent him a software update in which he downloaded onto his screen, which fixed the problem, which got him keep going. Like, can you imagine a software update to your car? It's incredible. It's because someone seized code. No one's like offended. The car's not like, I'm nobody. The car's not like, well, I kind of feel like I'm not in the mood to drive. I'm not sure why. Maybe I should call my friend to validate my feelings. The car's got code. It's just code. When you learn how to play with the codes, you can fix the software. So much of our lives is fixable, but we're so dramatic about it. Why does it happen to me for? How come I'm like this? How come he's not like this, but I'm like this? Why is this happening for? They all hate me. I'm never gonna. Maybe. But that's not our job. Our job is MVPRI. God's like, you're minimally viable. Yeah, you're not great. Because if I made you great, what would you be here for? If I made you perfect, why would I need you? If I made you perfect, there's a great, I don't know if you remember this. I saw this when I was younger. There's a great Twilight. Remember this show, The Twilight Zone? Remember the show, The Twilight Zone? I would only watch it in school because like every other Twilight Zone had like a great lesson to it. And did you remember what I'm talking about? Like every other had like some lesson that like in the Twilight Zone. So there's a Twilight Zone episode I remember seeing in school where a guy was not a great guy and they sent him to hell. You remember this one? And he goes in and he walks in and it's like a casino with all these beautiful people around and all the food he can eat. And every time he throws the dice, he wins. And he's like, this is really it. I mean, this is the greatest thing in the world. And the next day, same thing, the casino, all the beautiful people, all the food. He throws the dice, he wins every time. And the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. And every single day is the exact same scenario. He can never lose. He's always funny. He has everything he can eat. And he realizes that he's got no challenge. And he starts begging to be put back into the world. The challenge is what gets us excited. The challenge is what makes life worth living. If we were born perfect, it wouldn't work. We're born MVP. MVPRI stands for Minimal Viable Product Rapid Iteration. Oh, Andy, gosh. I'm telling you, for those who are watching this live or even afterwards, Andy already found the episode that I just talked about. We don't even plan this. This is called Synergy here. We're connected. You can check out the link. I haven't seen it in years. I hope it's right. I haven't seen that episode in forever. I hope I got the details right. We're minimally viable. That's all you got to be in life is minimally viable. You don't got to be perfect. There's nobody in this world that's perfect. And the more people look perfect, the more they're hiding their imperfections. God's perfect. Me and you are flawed on purpose. But let me tell you what we have to do. Rapid iteration. Grow every day a little bit. A little bit. A little bit. 1%. Every few days we should have our own software updates. How do we get it? We gotta start writing the code. We've got to write down our feelings. We've got to write down our judgments. We've got to write down our dreams. We've got to write down why we failed. We got to look at it. We got to analyze it. Maybe we can find someone in our lives that we can talk to about it. A friend, a partner, a spouse that can help us grow. And we got to start changing it. Journaling is a process for us to get underneath who we are. Someone emailed me over the weekend. Does it have to be something? It doesn't. It doesn't have to be anything. It could be your feelings. You just have to commit to a certain amount of pages every single day, no matter what. One day off you get, Shabbat. You commit to a day off. That's it. Every day, you take a page and you write. Even if you write, I have nothing to write. It's a habit. It's a ritual. You're doing it all the time. You're starting to take all of this information and put it down somewhere. And then you got to look at it. Ask yourself, why did I do that? Why does she make me feel this way? Am I taking or am I giving here? Are these people right for me? Or am I hanging around them because I'm trying to be someone that I'm not? How do I act like this person? What is it about this person that inspires me? My ideal day has been hanging out into the future for weeks. Have I done one thing to get me closer? And then, and we'll talk about tomorrow, is we start realizing that the way to get there is through a process called rituals. Rituals are the game of how we create software updates. All right, we'll continue this tomorrow with God's help. Thanks everybody for tuning in. It's great to be here with you again. With God's help, we have another great week together. Have an amazing day, an amazing Sunday, or any day that you're watching this. Remember, you can always watch this live on Facebook, Momentum in Mind. You can watch this on Zoom, or you can watch this afterwards on my Instagram, on my YouTube, LinkedIn, or Twitter. Have an awesome day, and with God's help, can't wait to see you again tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.